going to think I'm insane. You're going to want to stop listening. But don't. Please, listen. Because they're still out there. And if you ever see someone awake for too long, run. People think you have to be crazy to volunteer for something like this. The truth is, you just have to be desperate. It was 1949. Russia was broken after the war. We were all broken. I had nothing left. No family, no home, no future. So when a man in a gray coat promised warm meals, a clean bed, and a chance to serve science, I said yes, without asking too many questions. 5 of us signed up that day. They never told us exactly what the experiment was about, just that it would help our country. Just that we had to stay awake for 30 days. Simple, right? The place they took us to wasn't marked on any map. Just a long drive through endless frozen woods, then a rusted elevator down into blackness. The chamber smelled like wet concrete and cold metal. It was small, barely enough space for us to stretch out. 1 iron toilet, 1 drain in the middle of the floor, a thick black glass window set into the wall. So they could watch us like rats in a box. The gas started the moment they sealed the door. You couldn't see it, but you could feel it. The air turned heavy, greasy. Breathing tasted like licking an old battery. At first, we joked about it, made bets on who would stay awake the longest. But the lights buzzed too loudly. The gas made our mouths dry and our skin itch. We were sweating and freezing at the same time. The worst part was the smell. It wasn't just us sweating. It was something deeper, like the room itself was sick. By the second day, it felt like the walls were pressing closer, breathing with us, watching. The guards never spoke to us, only stared, writing notes, smiling sometimes, but not the kind of smile you want to see. One of the guards tapped the glass once, on the second day, not to check if it was strong. It was like he was waking something up, something waiting behind the gas, something already breathing inside our lungs. And in the back of my mind, a small voice whispered something I still can't forget. You shouldn't be here. But it was already too late. The whispers started around the 4th night, or maybe the 5th. Hard to tell by then. Time felt like it was slipping away. At first, I thought it was the others talking, but when I looked, they were just sitting there, staring into nothing. The walls were making noise, not loud, real soft, just under the buzzing of the lights. Low, dragging sounds like the concrete itself was breathing. When the lights flickered, the whispers got louder. They started saying our names, one by one. Alexei, Dmitri, Yuri, Ivan, and finally mine. It sounded like my mother's voice, but wrong, wet, like she was choking on something thick and rotten. I tried to shake it off, tried not to listen, but every time I closed my eyes, it got closer. The air felt thicker too, like trying to breathe through soup. One night I was lying by the drain in the middle of the floor, and I saw it. A face in the puddle, not mine. It was smiling, way too wide. And the skin looked like it had been ripped off and stretched back on. It stared right at me and whispered, "You will be the last." I screamed and scrambled back, but nobody moved. The others just kept rocking back and forth, whispering to themselves, smiling like they knew some terrible secret. The chamber wasn't just a room anymore. It was alive. It wanted us to stay. It wanted us to break. And deep down, I could feel it working. It started with heavy silence, Not the peaceful kind. The kind that feels full. Like something big and ugly was sitting in the room with us, and we just couldn't see it yet. The whispering stopped. The scratching stopped. Even the buzzing from the lights felt softer, like the room was holding its breath. Then the first scream hit. It tore right through the chamber, so loud I thought the walls were going to split open. It was Sergei, the strongest guy out of all of us. He was down by the drain, clawing at his throat with both hands, his nails snapping off against his skin, tearing at himself like he was trying to rip something out from under the surface. I ran to pull him away, but when I grabbed him, his skin peeled under my fingers, like grabbing rotten fruit. He didn't even notice. His eyes, bloodshot and wide, locked onto mine, and for a second I swear to God I wasn't looking at Sergei anymore. There was something else inside. He opened his mouth to scream again, but instead of a voice, thick black foam poured out, bubbling up like tar. The smell hit next. Not sweat, not blood. Something worse. A sharp, sour stink, like burnt hair and spoiled meat mixed together. The walls started to move too. Not shaking, pulsing, like the whole chamber was breathing right along with us. Then came the scratching. Not from Sergei, not from us, from inside the walls. A dry, fast clicking sound, like thousands of tiny claws scraping just behind the concrete. Getting closer, I pounded on the glass, screamed for the guards to help. They just stood there, staring, taking notes, smiling. That's when I realized they weren't trying to stop it. They were waiting to see what we would turn into. After Sergei died, there were 4 of us left, at least. That's what I kept telling myself. But deep down, I knew there were more now. Something else was in there with us. You could feel it, slithering behind your eyes, wrapping around your bones when you weren't looking. The others had stopped talking completely. They just shuffled in circles, whispering in broken voices, scratching strange symbols into their own skin with bloody fingers. They smiled while they did it, like they liked the pain. Me, I tried to hold on, tried to remember my name, my face, anything that made me me. But then the dream started. Even though I never closed my eyes, the dream still came. I dreamed of rivers running backwards, of hands without fingers, scraping at my skin from the inside out, of my own body lying in the center of the chamber, eyes and mouth stitched shut, something moving inside my chest. One night, I opened my eyes, or thought I did, and the others were standing over me. Their faces weren't right anymore. Their mouths were too big. Their skin hung loose, like wax melting off a candle. They leaned in close, and their breath smelled like rot and iron. They whispered, "We made room for it. You must too." I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Instead, they pulled at their own chests, ripping the skin open like it was just fabric. And what spilled out wasn't blood. It wasn't anything human. It was dark. It was alive. And it was smiling. I ran to the glass, slammed my fist against it until my bones felt like they would snap. The guards just watched. No reaction, no help, nothing. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about staying awake. It was about what they could plant inside us once we were too broken to fight back. A seed, a hunger, a doorway, and inside me, I could feel it waking up. The chamber was falling apart, and so were we. By what I think was day 15, the walls were leaking black water. The lights flickered like they were about to die. There was no more gas. We didn't need it anymore. Whatever it had done to us, it was finished. Sergei was gone. The others, they weren't even human anymore. They stood around Sergei's body in a circle, whispering in voices that didn't sound like anything from this world. Their skin sagged. Their eyes were empty holes. I curled up in the corner, hugging my knees, trying to stay small, trying to stay human. Then the alarms went off, loud, screaming sirens, red lights flashing across the walls. The glass wall exploded outward, and men in heavy suits stormed in. Faces hidden, behind thick, black masks. They weren't there to save us. They came with flamethrowers. The fire roared across the chamber, catching everything in seconds. The others didn't even try to run. They lifted their arms toward the flames, smiling like they were meeting old friends. I didn't smile. I ran. I don't even remember how. My legs just moved, stumbling through smoke, tripping over bodies that were half melted into the floor. I pushed through the burning hallway, up the stairwells, up and up, lungs screaming for air that didn't come. When I finally burst outside, it was snowing. Heavy white flakes falling so hard I could barely see. But the cold didn't touch me. Nothing touched me anymore. I staggered through the woods. The trees were black and twisted, the world spinning around me. Behind me, the facility burned, but they didn't chase me. The men in suits stood in the snow, watching, because they knew they had done their job. I wasn't an escapee. I was the experiment. Whatever they planted inside me, it lived, and it wasn't going to stay locked up. I don't know how long I've been out here. Days, weeks, years maybe. But now, I'm tired. So tired. And if you're hearing this, it means the thing inside me found a way to get to you. Welcome to the experiment.
It never ended.